Good morning. Buenos días. Thank you for all being here. My name is Fernando Cruz, Deputy Managing Director of Community Services. And we welcome you all here this morning to City Hall. The Constitution mandates that all people be counted every 10 years in the National Census. The effort is led by the United States Census Bureau and requires support from local government, business, and nonprofit leaders. Census data is used to determine congressional representation and distribution of more than $675 billion in federal funding. Philadelphia organizations receive more than $3.3 billion in federal funds each year. Obtaining a complete and accurate count is crucial to the continued funding of our public and social service infrastructure. This is why we have created the Philly Counts 2020 office, which will be housed within the Community Services Cluster to lead the work. We have hired Stephanie Reed as the director of the office, and you will be hearing from her shortly. But before that, let's hear from our great mayor, Jim Kenney.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And it's hard to believe it's almost time for the 2020 census. We need to start preparing now, and the establishment of this new office is essential to making that Philadelphia's population is counted fairly and accurately. A complete and accurate count will ensure that we will get our fair share of funds for the Medical Assistance Program and Medicare Part B, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance programs, SNAP, school lunch programs, special education grants, highway funding, Section 8 housing, federal Pell grants, and much, much more. These are supports and services that are critical to the health of our city, and we cannot afford an undercount. The census has always required a large-scale coordinated effort. However, this time the Trump administration has added some additional challenges, as they would always do. With the creation of the Philly Counts office and the Complete Count Committee, we're going to make sure that these challenges don't stop us from getting the most accurate count possible and securing our fair share of federal funds and congressional representation. For the first time since 1950, the Trump administration has proposed adding a citizenship question to the census. Currently, there are numerous legal challenges to the inclusion of that citizenship question. We know that the addition of this question has added to the already elevated fears in our immigrant communities. The federal government shouldn't be using the census as a tool to scare immigrants and deter them from being included in the count. It's also important to know that all census data is protected by federal law and is used for statistical purposes only. It cannot be used against you by any government agency or court. With that being said, I would like to thank Stephanie Reed and Joanna Otero Cruz for their leadership in establishing this office and making sure that the final census count reflects Philadelphia's large, diverse population. So don't be afraid to be counted. We really need we need every head counted. We need everybody being taken into consideration for living in our city, in our state, in our country, and don't let Donald Trump scare you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And we have great leadership in the city. I'd like to welcome Councilman Green to say a few words.
Good morning. I want to thank Mayor Kenney for his leadership in creating this Philly Counts initiative. I want to thank both Joanna and Stephanie for coming in and to take on the leadership of this new office. This is a very important issue. You heard Joanna state the hundreds of millions of dollars that come to the city of Philadelphia based on our involvement in the census. And it's so important. Just like voting is a civic right, we need to make sure that every person that's possible can participate in the census. As Mayor Kenney said, the current administration in D.C. has made it harder and actually discouraged people from participating in the census. That's why in City Council, I introduced a resolution the challenge Commerce Director Wilbur Ross on adding that citizenship question to the census, and that's being addressed in our courts. We also are having hearings in City Council to also raise the awareness regarding citizenship and the census, because it's something that's very important. Too often we are not counted in the city of Philadelphia. Those of us who are people from Philadelphia but maybe away because they're incarcerated, they're included in those citizenship counts in those counties. not here in the city of Philadelphia. That's why we need to make sure that we are very actively engaged and making sure that every person can be counted, that should be counted, to make sure we get all the dollars that we need to benefit the city of Philadelphia. So this is not just a civil rights issue, but it's also an economic development issue to make sure all the dollars that we need for the city of Philadelphia comes to the city of Philadelphia to make sure we can provide the best quality of life in our city. So I'm glad to be here. I'm going to thank Mayor Kenney for his leadership, and both Joanna and Shannon for their leadership in the Philly Counts. And please make sure when you leave this press conference, you get the word out, you tell someone how it's very important to participate in the census, and make sure you don't get discouraged, and make sure that your participation is counted. Thank you.
I'm really happy to be able to introduce Stephanie Reed, who's the director of the office. I had the privilege to work with her at different capacities under our cluster as she led Office of Community Services and served Philly in particular, and has done an amazing job. And she truly came on with her skates on. She's really, rolled up her sleeves and began planning. As we do in community services, we do everything to collaboration and partnership. So we'll also hear from Fernando Armstrong from the Census Bureau. So I'm turning it over to Stephanie first, and then we'll hear from Fernando.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Joanna, the mayor, and the councilman for your leadership. It is such an honor to be able to serve the people of Philadelphia as the executive director of Philly Counts 2020. As you've heard, we're facing new challenges in the 2020 census, which will make the role of cities more important than they have ever been in past years. Philly Counts will play a critical role in our city's ability to obtain a complete and accurate count of all people. The Constitution mandates the count of all people is essential to our democracy, and we are committed to working with partners throughout the city to ensure this to the best of our ability. Each year, Philadelphia organizations receive more than $3 billion in federal funds that are distributed based on census data. This money provides much-needed health and housing support for the most marginalized in our communities. It funds upgrades to our infrastructure and key aspects of our public schools. The stakes could not be higher. My office is charged at building a comprehensive coalition that will work together to ensure all residents of Philadelphia understand what's at stake and stand up to be counted. The Philly Counts office will have 3 primary goals that will guide our work. Our first goal is to convene key stakeholders through the Complete Count Committee. A Complete Count Committee is a volunteer committee established by the City of Philadelphia to increase awareness about the 2020 census and motivate residents in the community to respond. The committee will provide guidance and support for increasing the response rate for residents completing their questionnaire through a focused neighbor-to-neighbor program, providing local knowledge, expertise, and influence on the design and implementation of a census awareness campaign targeted to the local community, and bringing together a cross-section of community leaders and community members whose focus is 2020 census awareness and a complete and accurate count. Our second goal is to support Census Bureau hiring. The Census Bureau will be hiring more than 3,000 temporary workers to support the 2020 census. It's imperative that the census workers are from communities where they work. To support census hiring efforts, the Complete Count Committee will have a census jobs subcommittee that develops and implements strategies for recruitment, application, and training support. We'll work closely with the Census Bureau to identify communities with a low number of applicants and provide support and increase awareness about applications in those targeted communities. We want every Philadelphian to know if you are looking for work, the census jobs may be temporary, but they're good-paying jobs that offer resume-boosting experience. In 1999, I was a student working my way through college. I was taking night classes in business, and I remember seeing an ad for jobs with the census. It talked about how you could be part of history and work on the 2000 census. At the time, I was running after-school programs and summer camps at the YWCA, and I often worried, how was I going to get that experience in an office that would allow me to transition into something in the business world? I had never worked in an office setting, and I just needed that first step in the door so that I could show people I would work hard and I would learn my way. The census was that opportunity for me, and I know it can be a similar opportunity for many other people in Philadelphia. Our third goal is to encourage census participation in all efforts to ensure a complete and accurate count. Our Complete Count Committee will have subcommittees that focus on many Philadelphia special interest communities and hard-to-count populations. These subcommittees will work to develop and implement strategies to bridge the digital divide and ensure every resident in Philadelphia can complete the census online if they desire to do so. They will develop and implement strategies to engage the most marginalized residents and ensure they participate in the census. And they will support volunteer engagement and recruitment efforts and develop earned, paid, and social media strategies. We will be calling on people to talk to their neighbors about why the census matters, and to be sure that your friends and family understand that all information submitted to the census is safe and cannot be used against you by any government agency or court. We cannot let misinformation deprive us of our fair share of federal funds. These goals will require an extraordinary level of coordination between local government, business, nonprofit, and faith leaders. Key to our success will be working closely with our federal partners at the U.S. Census Bureau. I've been warmly welcomed by the staff at the Philadelphia Regional Census Office, and they have offered support and resources to me and to my office in the Complete Count Committee. I'm grateful for the partnership that we've already formed and know that it will be critical to our efforts. I am pleased to introduce now Fernando Armstrong, Director of the Philadelphia Regional Census Center.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks for everyone for being here. It was about 230 years ago that we did the first census in 1790. And it's important that we benchmark it with Philadelphia. It was precisely in Philadelphia where our founding fathers decided to create a new country, and that country was, in many, many ways, representative of the country, of the people. And it is precisely the census which continues to allow us to make the country counted, make it present. Nothing has changed in terms of that mandate to get the apportionment of the House. Like Mayor Kenney, I want to reinstate and reassure the public that the census is confidential. The information will not be shared with any law enforcement or any other agency. I thank the mayor and the city council for their involvement and their support. We are extremely pleased to be supporting the Philly Count effort. Stephanie and I have been working together for a couple of weeks. I look forward to supporting their effort. We have a lot of things we can do together, and we need help from the public. We need help from the community. We need help from our partners. So I encourage you to go back and think, how can I assist this effort? We have jobs, but we also need the word to go out about the importance of the census, about the fact that it's safe, it's confidential, and that it's something we do every 10 years, and we live with it for 10 years. So we won't have another opportunity in 10 years. We have to do it right. And you have my commitment, the commitment of my staff, that we will do everything we need to do to make sure we have a good count in 2020. Thank you.
So the mayor now will sign an executive order declaring the office of Philly Counts 2020. Thank you, everyone, for coming.